Hey everybody, so in my last video I did my top 20 1980s slasher films, and at the start of that video I said that I left off all giallos. And so later I got to thinking about doing a top 20 giallo list, but then it turned out that that list was really dominated by the same few directors. So instead what I want to do here is, just for my own amusement and pleasure, is to share my top 15 Lucio Fulci films. And then I'm going to be doing my top 15 Dario Argento films. So let me get straight into it then. So in at number 15 is The House of Clocks. Now, I guess my relatively low regard for this film can be gauged by the fact that I've never bothered to upgrade this Vipco edition. Anyone in the UK will know that Vipco is the absolute lowest of the low when it comes to quality releases. They basically just release really bad VHS rips onto DVD. Very minimal design going on. The picture quality is awful. But anyway, so about the actual film, it isn't terrible. It's by far the better film of the two he made for TV towards the end of his career. The other one was, what was it called? The Little Shop of Horrors or something like that. Little House of Horrors, I don't remember, but Sweet Shop of Horrors, I think. Anyway, whatever it is, it was his worst film, whatever it was. And this is an interesting idea. The execution is okay. It's got a few of the great masters' trademarks, but just on the whole, I don't really return to it all that much. Once you've seen it once and you know what the shtick is, once you know what the gimmick is, not a lot of replay value for me. So, House of Clocks, number 15. Number 14, Sodoms Ghost. Oh, if they had cut out the really long Russian roulette scene, then this would be a much better film. I mean, it has really great moments, but it's punctuated by really lengthy, tedious nonsense, basically. No idea what's supposed to be going on in this film. I doubt anyone involved in making it understood what the hell they were doing. But yeah, like I said, there are good. Oh, I can't show you the back. There are good things in this, and if you've not seen it, do check it out. It's worth it. Sodoms Ghost, number 14. Number 13, Touch of Death. This is the reason why Cat in the Brain isn't on this list is because even though I think that's a creative film, its best parts are basically taken from these later Fulci films. So anyway, Touch of Death, it's a very basic story about a cannibal, really. It's fun to watch. Very fun and grisly and nasty, all the good Lucio Fulci stuff. Next up is probably the best film from his very late period, Voices from Beyond. This is a creative... Can I show you the back? Yeah, I can. This is a pretty creative story. It's an interesting one. Very well executed with some great set pieces. So Voices from Beyond, the best of the end of his career. Next up, Lizard in a Woman's Skin. If I were ranking this list based on how good these films are on a technical level, this would be much, much higher on the list because it's a really great, very early giallo film. Well, it's his first giallo film and his first great film. But I just don't return to it all that much. It's a little bit too weird for me in places. So again, a great film, but it's just not the most, not one of the more enjoyable ones for me to watch. So, right, we're into the top 10 now. Number 10, The Black Cat. This was made during the absolute peak of Fulci's career, 1981. This was in the midst of his classic era from 1978, let's say, to 1982. And it's relatively restrained by his standards. It's very well made. It's tasteful, which isn't something you always think of with Lucio Fulci. This is a tastefully done film. The Black Cat has been done to death on film, but this is one of my favorite, if not my very favorite, versions of Poe's story. So, The Black Cat. In at number 9 is one that most people dismiss, Manhattan Baby. Yeah, I mean, this is an absolute mess. Again, can I show you? Yes, I think I can. I love the Shameless on the back here, the DVD company. They said, most DVD sleeves will give you a succinct plot synopsis, but we're still struggling to understand what the hell goes on in this movie. Yeah, it's understandable because it's a mishmash of, like a lot of Italian cinema, they just steal basically from whatever was popular in America at the time. But the title obviously borrows from Rosemary's Baby because it's set, I guess, in New York. There's bits of The Exorcist thrown in here. There's all kinds of like Egyptian mummy stuff going on. God only knows what it's about, but it's one hell of a ride. It's quite the experience to watch this. So I do always have a good time with it. So Manhattan Baby at number 9. Number 8, The Psychic. This was the third of his great 70s giallos. Again, very tasteful, really well done film. You wouldn't really know that this was Lucio. Well, one or two scenes do have his later hallmark, but generally this feels like a very different kind of director. And that's a mark of how great Fulci was, that he was able to go from this in 1977 to Zombie Flesh Eaters a year or two later, and City of the Living Dead and stuff like that. Yeah, a really good story, excellent, just excellent film. Right, next up, a relatively low, I suppose, The House by the Cemetery. My least favorite in the Gates of Hell trilogy, but it's still great, still iconic, and Bob with his accent. Oh, by the way, Bob, the actor who played Bob is, you know this, of course, but was in Manhattan Baby as well, and again had terrible dubbing. Anyway, House by the Cemetery. Excellent atmosphere, of course, and a great looking zombie there. But like I said, just my least favorite. I think that he was really he'd taken this type of film as far as he could by this point, and it was time for him to move on to other things. But it's still a great film. Right, next up, Christ, I can't even show you the front of this one. Let me cover her up. Don't Torture a Duckling. This is, if I were ranking these in terms of his best films, this would be number 1. I think Fulci himself considered this to be his greatest film. Exceptionally well-made film, very intricately plotted, well acted, and I said this in my previous video, but any film dealing with the abuses of religion and religious zeal, great with me. Love it, can't get enough of them. So Don't Torture a Duckling comes in at number 6. Number 5, another maybe relatively low choice, but The Beyond. I've never quite been able to get into this one as much as its ultra fans do. I mean, I do love it. I do appreciate it. I think it has some absolutely tremendous sequences and atmosphere, of course. But yeah, I don't return to it all that much. If I watch this film, it's always as part of a marathon of the trilogy. So The Beyond comes in at 5. Number 4, The New York Ripper. I really can't show you the back of this one. This is a nasty film. This is the most mean-spirited, nihilistic film I think I've ever seen. The ending of this film is just so bleak and dark and again, mean-spirited, very nasty, leaving the girl in that condition. But yeah, it is quite the visceral experience, this film. I didn't like it when I first watched it, but I've come to really appreciate what Fulci did here. One of the very great giallos, one of the very great kind of slasher films. New York Ripper, number 4. Number 3, Zombie, or Zombie Flesh Eaters, as it's known in the UK. Classic scene after classic scene after classic scene. I mean, who other than Fulci and his screenwriter would have thought to have an underwater zombie fighting an actual shark? It's got probably the most iconic zombie in cinema history in this guy up here. Great characters, lots of fun, fantastic ending. Brilliant. Zombie Flesh Eaters. Number 2, is maybe a strange one, but it's Enigma. Huge nostalgia for me with this one. This was one of my very favorite films. It was the very first film that I ever bought on VHS with my own money. It was in the bargain bin at the local video store when I was growing up, and it had this really gaudy pink cover and this image. God knows what it is, but it looks frightening. It's not a great film. I mean, it borrows liberally from his earlier work. This was made in 1987, so 5 years out from his classic era. But it's so cheesy. That opening song just puts a huge embarrassed smile on my face. And I don't know why, because it's not a great film at all. Death by Slugs, by the way. You can't tell me another film. Oh no, was it Slugs or Snails? Slugs, wasn't it? I don't remember, but I'm sure it's on the back here somewhere. They look like snails to me. Yeah, they are, aren't they? Because she comments that she hates them when they're in the food. Anyway, all right, Enigma in at number 2. And so number 1, of course, is City of the Living Dead. I do have over there the Bells and Whistles Hour edition, but I'll show this one off because I absolutely love this cover art. City of the Living Dead has some of the very greatest atmosphere in a film. It's doesn't make a lick of sense. It's not the most coherent film in the world. That's what's great about Fulci. You know, they're not supposed to be understood on a kind of a narrative level. He himself said this in an interview one time. His films are meant to be experienced, less than understood. He tries to depict hell and like the disintegration of the line between reality and dream, between madness and insanity, and I think he does it really, really well. This is an unnerving, unsettling film with some absolutely mind-blowing sequences and scenes and imagery. In particular, that girl vomiting up her guts with Michele Soavi in the passenger seat, the driver's seat. Sorry. Anyway, City of the Living Dead is my favorite film of his. So that's going to do it. That's my top 15 Fulci films. I will be along very shortly with my top 15 Dario Argento films. So stay tuned for that. Bye for now.